So it's kind of fitting for me to be driving a car that was introduced back to the public in the 90s, late 90s, because it's been about that long since I've been to Chicago. So it's kind of fitting for me to be driving a car that was had just come back about the time I left, and now I'm driving it around in the city that I haven't seen in ages. It's kind of interesting. Chicago's an interesting place. It's Midwestern, but it ain't. It's a big city, but it's not. And it's pretty well represented by this car, to be completely honest. It's subdued, but it gets the job done. That's kind of how the people around here are.
This is the 2019 Chrysler 300, and around us is the very snowy and cold city of Chicago. If you mention to Chicago to anybody, they will have their definitive opinion as to what this city is. Some will say it's the music, whether that's Kanye West or Muddy Waters. Some will mention the food, the best hot dog or the best pizza, which it's not. And others will mention the crime rate, whether St. Valentine's Day or for more recent times. But really, to be truthful, it is all of those things. It is a blue-collar town, a white-collar town. It is very complex. And when we got here, we asked people, has Chicago changed? You know, people who had lived here their entire life. And they all said no. And so today's car is kind of fitting. In the last 14 years, the Chrysler 300 itself has not really changed. It is still the same car it was in 2004, although a little bit better.
All right, now, as for the reasons why Matt will like this car, there's plenty of room in the trunk for a body. It's pretty quiet. It's kind of nondescript, so the cops won't pick up on it. You know, it's a very, very mobster kind of car. But for me, I like it because it's a little more refined than even I'm used to. Most of the stuff I drive is either pretty rough and tumble work trucks and off-road stuff, or little sports cars. So this is kind of nice to cruise around in something that's actually just a comfortable ride. I don't feel like I have to be gunning it everywhere I go or racing with anybody or prepared to bounce all over my seat. So it's nice in that respect.
Now, if you've watched the show or if you've listened to our show, you're probably wondering, how does the guy who likes mafia cars feel driving a mafia car in a very mafioso city? And to be honest, I'm a little sad. And the reason why is this is really representation of an era gone by. And when you drive through Chicago, it's not packed full of big body Chryslers and Chevys like it was in the mob days. There's no Lincoln Continentals and Italian cafes. Right now it's Mini Coopers and Subarus and really ugly Hondas. And that's kind of where this car falls. It's perfect for the city, but it is also a dying breed.
What's funny is driving this car doesn't really elicit any kind of response from me in any way. It doesn't make me super excited. I'm not mad at it. I don't dislike it. I don't love it. It's okay. It's just an average ride. I don't know if that's good.
How does it drive in Chicago? Well, kind of like any other car. It is not the most impressive thing. And I had a chance to drive its brother, the Dodge Charger SRT, in New Orleans. And I really like to pick cars for the city they're in, you know, to match them correctly. And the Charger fit New Orleans. It had a dark side. It was playful. The exhaust note was pure voodoo. This is a little bit more refined. In New Orleans, where you eat seafood on sticky picnic tables, in Chicago, seafood is plated on white linen tables with porcelain plates. So you can't have the loud, noisy Charger. That said, I am missing a little bit of that spirit. I wouldn't even say it is a refined version of that. I would say it's almost a tamed version of that. It is a little boring. But, you know, being in Chicago, the Midwest, where you have sales reps and account managers and they need a company car, you don't want something that says, I make too much money or too flashy and it distracts you from your job. It is very to the point. And even though this car's been out for 16, 15 years now, it still has people looking at it. They are still turning their head to look at it. And the reason why, and if you remember when it came out in 2005, it was different. Everything else had real squatty features, and this came out with a square back, a square front. And you only saw that on Bentley and Rolls-Royce. And Chrysler brought it to an everyday car, and it just caught your eye. Now, you look at it and go, oh, okay, no, that's not a Rolls-Royce, and you turn away. But it still caught your eye.
Initial impressions of the Chrysler 300? Yeah, it looks like a Charger. It kind of feels like a Charger. It's meant to be a luxury nameplate, but it doesn't feel as much luxury as it feels a little bit upscale, I guess. The interior's kind of rubberized rather than plasticky. Like it though. It's got enough pop. It's a comfortable ride. Sounds better. You know me, I'd rather have all kinds of horsepower. But this will do. This will get you around the city. So we're going to leave Chicago soon, here in the next day or two. And it remains to be seen whether or not this vehicle will leave Chicago soon. And I don't mean car driving out of the city. I mean whether or not this car will continue to exist as part of the landscape here. Only time will tell, and it'll be interesting to see.